football season with Sling. Sling gives you a custom channel lineup that lets you do game day your way. Get your must-watch games on channels like ESPN, ESPN2, SEC Network, and Big Ten, starting at just $40 a month. The biggest games, the hottest rivalries, and the teams you love. Everything about college football that makes you want to rush the field. Sling lets you do that. Go to sling.com/score to choose your channel lineup today.
For a unique point of view on pro sports game analysis, then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.
There you go now.
I think every.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 0181468.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up, fool! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, people trying to go to sleep. Well, if I just get in at 3 o'clock, then I guess I'm not trying to go to sleep. I want to say I was voted neighborhood spokesperson, and I'm trying to bring the whole neighborhood together, but some people just don't appreciate it when it's early in the morning, when it's too early in the morning. I want to say what a beautiful day in Dimdale Hills, California, on a Monday, October the 7th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord, He didn't split you too wide. I do want to say what a great day. I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. What an October surprise. Surprise, Big C? Yeah, October surprise. Had a lot of good old boys falling. Number 1, Alabama lost. And then number 4, Tennessee lost. Can you believe that? Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. That's an academic school. That's why you really go to college. But they lost to Vanderbilt. I guess they were outsmarted. No pun intended. They were outsmarted. Vanderbilt can outsmart an elephant any day of the week. And then, we're not done yet. Michigan lost to Washington up in the Pacific Northwest. And USC lost to Minnesota. Then now they're 1-2 in the Big Ten. And then just a lot of games that went down to the wire. Miami came out to the West Coast. And Sports Center was at Cal Berkeley on Strawberry, what they called Tightwad Hill, Strawberry Canyon. And Ward looks like a Heisman Trophy candidate. Not saying he's going to win it, but a Heisman Trophy candidate came from behind with the Miami Hurricanes, and they snipped the Cal Berkeley. They snipped them in the backside. They snipped the bear in the backside. You don't want to poke a sleeping bear, but they got that bear. Cal had a good chance to upset the Hurricanes, but it didn't happen. But what a game that was on the Strawberry Canyon in Tightwad Hill, known as University of California, Berkeley. What a lot of great games. And then football, can you say it ain't so? Who that say they're going to beat them Niners? Can you believe the Arizona Cardinals beat the San Francisco 49ers in Dimdale Hills, California? I can't tell you, even the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got to win. I've been saying it's about time they get a win. They got to win over Indianapolis. And what a game with Buffalo and Houston and Dimdale Hills, Texas. Dimdale Hills, Texas saw I don't like the uniforms that the Houston Texans are wearing. I said it's high school football on Sunday. They had a high school football like uniform. Go back to the traditional uniforms, but I know they want to sell more merchandising. It was just the way the ball bounces at the same time. And then when you look at what happened across the pond, the New York Jets, the Jets flew across the pond to lose a game. They flew across the pond to lose a game, and they could have stayed home and lost that same game, but that makes sense. They stayed home. And Aaron Rodgers seems to have lost his fastball, if that makes sense to you. He seemed to have lost his fastball, and everybody's fault but his, and he had to show leadership. But sometimes when you have the way he treats his coach, I know people say, oh, they get along great. Well, no, body language tells a lot. Body language tells a whole lot. And then I'll get into some baseball also. Those Padres are trying to show the Dodgers, we not your little boy. We not your little brothers anymore. They're trying to show they're not the little brothers anymore. But I love football, and college football has been great. NFL football has been great. The October surprise, a lot of good old boys fell out of the top 10. But they're not done yet. There's still a lot to be said about college football. I do want to say, for all the things that come up, we are just within 30 days of the presidential election. In fact, right about 32 days from the presidential election. And it just seems like it's like hearing the blink of an eye. And I can't wait until we get to that point where people can go out and vote for you got to vote like your life depends on it. That's what we told. I don't know if that makes sense or not. No matter what, you still got to get up and rise and shine every day. And I'm going to rise and shine every day. I want to say, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I produce the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We can all have more laughter in our lives. I know I can use more laughter in my life. And then I want to tell you, the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling, and then I do the play-by-play. 1st and 10, 50-yard line, 4 wideouts for the Niners, 5-man front by the Cardinals. Purdy with the snap, rolling to his right, rolling. He throws downfield. The ball is caught! Caught for the touchdown! Touchdown! Niners! Big C! 50 yards! That Big C, 50 yards. It was Purdy to Big C. But I can't believe I saw it with my own 2 eyes, Kyler Murray and the good old boys came back, and they got the kind of whipping they needed to get. The Niners have lost 2 double-digit leads. They lost a double-digit lead earlier in the year when they fell to the Los Angeles Rams, and they did it again. They had the Cardinals down, and they let them off the hook. I should have known better when I heard people were tailgating outside of Levi Stadium, and they said those birds just won't stay down. Those birds would not stay down. They say you can't keep a good bird down. You can't keep a good bird down. And those good birds, they did not stay down, and they came back and they got the 49ers and they put them on the grill. They said, how do you like it when your ass sets are on the grill? That's what they said. You got to be careful. What would it be like if a bird took a human being and put her assets on the grill? It wouldn't feel too good, would it? But those Cardinals were determined not to get eaten alive. They were determined not to get eaten alive. I want to say you don't want to get eaten alive either. And then the show is uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City and streaming on Fur TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show since starting Big City Sports back in the day with the crew at Salem Media. And now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. Now we have people who miss practice, but you don't want to miss practice, and you definitely don't want to miss the game. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports all over the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I want to shine light all over the world with Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say something that's near and dear to my heart because I come from a family of veterans, and I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced, helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You don't have to be a veteran, and they will still give you help. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it sure is good when somebody's leaning back. And I love giving praise when somebody's leaning back. I want to say no matter what you're going through in life, you got to keep rising and shining. You got to always keep your head up. And you rise and shine. And you rise and shine like those Cardinals. They were rising and shining even though their heads were down. But they came back. If you watch what football teaches and basketball and baseball teaches, it teaches you don't give up. Don't ever give up. As long as you're breathing, you have a chance. Even if it's all stacked against you, you got a chance. And that's what I love about sports, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got to say, I have a guy to tell you NFL Monday Night Football from Dimdale Hills, Missouri, the defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. They're a 5.5-point favorite over the New Orleans Saints. Who that say they're going to beat them Saints? I say Kansas City say they're going to beat them Saints. I think I'm funny on a Monday. It's not always funny. It's hot in Dimdale Hills. I've been out doing business and prospecting and making phone calls and looking forward to the game tonight. And I just wish nothing but the best for all the teams that they keep their health because we want to stay healthy, man. Sometimes football's a tough business. And guys get knocked around. What a game also, Dimdale Hills in Ohio. It was Henry left, Henry right, Henry up the middle. Henry had one big run, but it put him in field goal range to win that game, Baltimore over the Cincinnati Bengals. What a game that was. Really do appreciate that. But as I always say, I have a guide to preserve, protect, and transfer wealth. And you know I'm strong in reparations. A lot of great things happening with Big C Sports Podcast. I know a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to bring the whole world together, at least the world of Big C Sports, and help people help others. If we can help people help others, that's what it's all about. Now I'm going to have a quiz. Now pay attention. This is not your great granddaddy's quiz. You know, your great granddaddy can take a quiz. It can be quiet. And you didn't know if your great granddaddy or your great grandmama knew the answers because they wrote it down on a piece of paper, and the teacher took the test, and they graded the test later that night. Well, I do my test live, and if I make a mistake, you hear it. If I don't make a mistake, then you still don't hear it. If that makes sense to you, you don't know if I'm making a mistake or not. But I'm trying to take what I learned a while ago. I took a speed reading class in college. Because you ever talk to somebody and they talk so slow, you say, make your point, please. I remember sometimes being in sales, you ask someone, hi, my name is Big C, what's your name? And the person says, well, that's a very peculiar question. Well, let me explain to you the reason my name is what it is. You see, I was born on the East Coast. And on the East Coast, oftentimes in the wintertime, it snows. And so there are times when people say, well, there's a lot of snow on the ground, what are we going to do with it? Well, when I was born, it was in the snow season. So my grandparents said, how about let's call him Snow Boy? And then he had a twin sister, and they call her Snow Bunny. Can you just tell me your name, please? Some people just tell me your name. And so I've learned to talk faster by taking a speed reading class. And I'm trying to talk faster. It's from Speedy, Snow Bunny, Snowman. What a game. What a game, naming kids. I want to say a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, resource development consulting, Inc. In conjunction with the law office of Attorney Scott Thibodeau and the law office of George Jones, Esquire, the Missing Link, Long-Term Care Solutions by the book, over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. And California is called Medi-Cal, and other parts of the country is called Medicaid. Your family and your spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs in California. Find out your options, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. You got to tell them Big C sent you. Our promise to you is specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. You see, when I watched a lot of NFL football over the weekend, I noticed when quarterbacks were going down, it was down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. The late Howard Cosell, when he was talking about the fight with Muhammad Ali and also Joe Frazier. Protection of your assets without the spend down. Quarterbacks need a great offensive line to protect their blind side, also known as your assets, if that makes sense to you. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists, ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. But not only that, what does a quarterback say when he's going to drop back the pass? He said, protect my assets! Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. You better believe tonight in the NFL Monday Night Football game, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to tell the offensive line, make sure with that touchdown Patrick Mahomes when he drops back the pass, protect his assets, if that makes sense to you. Protect his what, Big C? Protect his assets. You got to protect touchdown Patrick Mahomes' assets and touchdown Derek Carr's assets too, because you know those good old boys called defensive linemen. They don't care a little bit about your assets. They're going to come after you. You got to protect that will and trust, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program. It's called probate. And if you don't have a will and a trust, at the end of life, the probate courts, they will love you. In fact, they might even throw you a party because they'll take all your assets. They take between 10 to 40% of your estate, all because you don't have a will and a trust. I was talking to some attorneys, some good old boys. These are good lawyers. They're AV-rated lawyers through Martindale Hubbell. They said, Big C. I said, yeah. They said, would you believe that 7 out of 10 Americans do not have a will and a trust? I said, oh, you must be out of your fucking mind. The great Star Trek and Spock. They said, no, seriously, Big C, 7 out of 10 Americans do not have a will and a trust, but they have cable TV. I said, oh, you must be out of your fucking mind. He said, no, the people without a will and a trust are out of their fucking mind. That's how Captain Kirk spoke with Spock. You don't have a will and a trust, you may as well tell the court to take half of your estate, because they're going to take it unless you have a will and a trust, to tell the court where you want your things to go, your assets, your properties, your estate. You got to have a will and a trust. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. But not only that, I'm not done yet. It's called asset protection. Hut 1, Hut 2, asset protection. You hear about asset protection for NFL football games. Protection insurance coverage required by a law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid, and attendance, also pre-planning and avoid the look-back period. What about fixed assets, Big C? Will the trust protect that? I'm glad you asked. A trust protects your bank account. Let me just tell you this. If you see driving up and down the highways in Dimdale Hills, California, or anywhere around the country, oftentimes you see those attorneys that advertise on the side of the highways. They say, if you ever get into the accident, call 800, get the door attorney. What's the phone number again, Big C? It says call 800, get the door attorney. 800, get the door attorney? Yeah, because they will get the dough if you don't have your assets protected. They will come after your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your money market accounts, your certificates of deposit. They'll come after all that stuff. Life insurance with cash values, your fixed indexed annuities. What about variable assets? Big C, do the Darth Vader attorneys go after that? Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Those Darth Vader attorneys, they will go after your variable assets. You got to understand that they come to kill, steal, and destroy. They're like the Death Star, like Darth Vader. When Darth Vader says join the dark side, that's what they're coming after. And then the variable assets to protect your real estate, your qualified money, your IRAs, your 401ks, and other investments. For example, avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and say 1 year later that house appreciates to $1 million. Well, that's a $900,000 capital gain. You avoid that when your property is in a trust. And some of these attorneys, they make so much money They will tell you if you've ever been hurt in an accident, call 800 Get to Know Law Firm, and we will represent you. And if we don't win, you don't pay. What? Let me say that again. Those attorneys, they say, they call ambulance chasers, otherwise known as Darth Vader attorneys. If we don't win, you don't pay. What? They make so much money off of winning and suing people for their assets that they're willing to lose a couple of cases to get that big snowball of a case that makes sense to you. And that's why they named that kid in the East Coast Snow Bunny. It's Snowman. Their parents were lawyers. Lord, life is funny. Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Over 3 decades of experience, you got to find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. When you do, you tell them Big C sent you. Well, Big C, I love the commercial with the Big C team and the RDC team, but I have a friend, and he does trust too, and he's been doing trust for 5 years. Why would I trust you? Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Because we have references, and a lot of people don't have references. That's why they don't tell you to call my reference. But not only do we have references for the RDC team, we give them to you. And our references are a pretty big deal. We have the late James Gomez. He advised 4 California governors and led change in California nursing homes. He was also the CEO of the California Association of Health Facilities. But not only that, he served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. And not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was the top legal counsel for CalPERS, one of the top employers in California. The world's 5th largest economy is California. Some people say 4th. But he endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have George Jones, attorney at law, Esquire, and also chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also a California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. He endorses the RDC team. We also have attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mr. Leon Woods. He works with many of the top lobbyists in California. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mrs. Cheryl Brown. Now, she's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, the CEO of Resource Development Consulting, Inc., been doing his thing over 34 years and counting. But not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veterans Benefits. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, who's the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. But not only that, business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, have my own sports talk show called Big C Sports Corporation, the #1 sports show in the universe. Talking sports and asset protection, Monday through Friday, all over the world. But not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Also, business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on accesssacramento.org, also KUBU 96.5 FM, and also eatprivate.net. I say you got to give it some praise. Give it all praise because you want to protect your assets. And we do a good job doing that. Does your friend do that? And for some of these attorneys and your friends, let's say your friend does asset protection, attorneys like doing things in writing. Ask the attorney if they don't know how to trigger your long-term care entitlements, will they pay your long-term care bill? And have them put that in writing. Because it's an entitlement signed into law by Lyndon Baines Johnson and Harry Truman that worked on it for 20 years. It was Lyndon Johnson that signed it into law, long-term care entitlements. Have your attorney that does your trust put in writing that they're going to make sure they can trigger your long-term care entitlements or they will pay your long-term care bills. And half of Americans will end up needing long-term care at some point in time should we live long enough. And that's a fact. That's what you get with the RDC team. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And I want to tell you, I'm so excited about a lot of things. As you know, I'm big on reparations. I'm making sure that I do my part to make it happen. I believe in the Just Act for descendants of chattel slavery. And it's going to happen for descendants of chattel slavery. I'm one of the co-chairs of the National Black Wall Street Project to make sure that happens. I also want to give a prayer and a chant. Nam yo rinke yo, nam yo rinke yo, nam yo rinke yo. That is one of the most significant attributes of Nichiren Buddhism. It's easily accessible practice of chanting Nam Yo Rinke Yo, Nam Yo Rinke Yo, Nam Yo Rinke Yo. This profound yet simple method of Buddhist practice is the perfect Buddhist teaching for the modern world. You got to give that some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now I tell you, are you ready for some football? Yeah! This is Big C Sports. I like to do my meditation. And I do my meditation before I get into my sports. And I pay homage to my commercial that I do with Big C Sports Podcast. We have some NFL football tonight. What did Two Live Crew saying? They say, tonight's the night. It's going to be all right. Big C, that wasn't Two Live Crew. That was Rod Stewart. Okay, but they saying the same thing. Tonight's going to be all right. You got the New Orleans Saints. Who that say? They're going to beat the Saints after defending Super Bowl champion. The Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City at beautiful stadium, Arrowhead Stadium. They are 4-0. They host the New Orleans Saints 2-2. Tonight, Monday Night Football already underway. It concludes the Week 5 NFL schedule. Now, the Chiefs added receiver Rashid Rice, a knee, to the injured reserve this week. So Kansas City would be looking for a tight end, and Travis Kelce is looking, I'm telling you, receiver Xavier Worthy to step up in this game. The Saints started out as the hottest team in the NFL. Through 2 weeks before losing the next two, they did, however, cover a 2.5 point spread in a loss against the Atlanta Falcons last week, running their record against the spread to 3-1. Now, pay attention. Against the spread, their record is 3-1. Now, Kansas City is 2-1 after a push at -7 in last week's win against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Kansas City Chiefs, they have wide receiver Mecole Hardman, who was listed as questionable with a knee. He is active. Now, for you good old boys in Vegas, 800 Gambler, I don't gamble on games, but 800 Gambler kickoff already underway at GEHA Field at beautiful Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. It kicked off at 8:15 p.m. East Coast time. Listen up, gamblers. After opening a 7.5 point favorite, Kansas City, it dropped down to a 5.5 points favorite. They wanted to get more money to move in that favor. And now, in the latest Saints versus Chiefs odds, you got to realize the over-under is 43. It was opening at 45. So Vegas says some of that money is coming down. Be careful if you're out there betting on games, 800 Gambler. I don't bet on games, but I know some people, they just do it because they love doing that. But I'm going with Kansas City to win the game tonight, but I don't necessarily think they'll cover. They don't like to cover for whatever reason. They just don't like to cover. And if you're going to bet on sports, be careful. You got to keep your money in your wallet. What did Sam Jackson say? He said, what's in your wallet? The great Sam Jackson said, what's in your wallet? In the commercial. If you want to keep your money in your wallet, be careful when you're betting on games, especially with Kansas City. They rarely ever cover the spread. I mean, they could be up, I can tell you, they could have an 8-point lead, say 28-20. They could be favored by 7, and somehow the opponent comes down and kicks a field goal with 3 seconds left on the clock. Oh, Big C, yeah, sometimes that happens. Be careful, but it's all fair and level war. I have Big C's thoughts on Week 5 NFL football. Not a lot of offensive fireworks around the NFL through the first 4 weeks of the season, but that changed in Week 5 with the quarterbacks taking over. Over the first 4 weeks, there was only one instance where a quarterback threw for at least 330 yards with 3 touchdowns. The great Jordan Love. But that changed in Week 5 is 4 quarterbacks hitting those marks so far, including 2 in the same game. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, I'm a Superman. Superman Lamar Jackson and touchdown Joe Burrow. They put on a show during Baltimore's 41-38 overtime win in Cincinnati. Now, Superman Lamar Jackson, he was doing his thing. He threw for 348 yards and 4 touchdowns, while touchdown Joe Burrow, he threw for 392 yards and 5 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco are the other 2 quarterbacks who threw for at least 330 yards and 3 touchdowns in Week 5. It's been a great week of football. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. It was Baltimore 41, Cincinnati 38 in overtime. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. And Frazier's the name of the Cincinnati's Bengal Tiger on the sideline. And thank goodness they keep him in a cage. But the Ravens defense could not stop touchdown Joe Burrow. But that did not matter because the touchdown maker, Superman, Lamar Jackson, was around to save the day. Kryptonite had no chance against Superman, Lamar Jackson. I really love the way Lamar Jackson is playing this year. The Ravens quarterback had one of the most impressive passing days of his entire career on Sunday. 348 yards and 4 touchdowns. Every time it looked like the Ravens might be out of it, it was Superman to the rescue, and he saved the day for the good boys. And then, of course, Justin Tucker hit on a 56-yard field goal to tie things in the fourth quarter before hitting the game winner in overtime. It was 3 straight wins, and the Ravens, they look like the best team in the AFC North. You want to crown them? Crown them! This is not time to crown anybody, but I do like the way they play. How about those Cowboys? The great Jerry Jones. If I can steal a line from Jimmy Johnson, the Cowboys 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers 17. This is not your Super Bowl prediction, but what a great game it was. This game was on the brink of being a disastrous loss for how about those Cowboys? And then quarterback Dak Prescott, he saved the day. He saved the day, Big C. Yeah, Dak Prescott saved the day. Dak Prescott threw for 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning score to Jordan Tolbert with just 20 seconds left. What a great game it was. It was vindication for touchdown Dak Prescott, who helped kneel the Steelers. He kept them in play in a game, turning the ball over 3 times. 3 times. You got to hold on to the ball, touchdown Dak Prescott. With $60 million, you got to get a better grip. If you need a better grip, $60 million can buy you a better grip. The Cowboys' much maligned defense turned out to be a bright spot. Not your doomsday defense with Ed Too-Tall Jones. But despite missing Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, the defense played one of its best games of the year. They held the Steelers to just 226 yards of offense. Isn't that something else? With the Lions and the 49ers coming up in the next 2 weeks, it was a defensive resurgence that should give the Cowboys some confidence going forward. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Now, Coach Mike Tomlin is likely going to be scratching his head after this loss. The Steelers defense forced 3 turnovers, and Pittsburgh came up with a blocked field goal. But despite the big plays, I want big-time players to make big-time plays. Coach Tomlin's team, they still lost. This is not your Steelers steel curtain defense. The biggest problem was the offense that generated just 226 yards. Touchdown Justin Fields completed just 4 passes during a first half where the Steelers only had 1 drive that went more than 21 yards. You got to get more than 21 yards on a drive in the first half. Great game by the Cowboys. Denver Broncos 34. The Las Vegas Raiders 18. Will the Raiders ever win again? It looks like the Raiders officially have a quarterback controversy. Antonio Pierce, he decided to bench Gardner Minshew in a move that came after Gardner Minshew threw his second interception of the game. And the problem for the Raiders is that Aiden O'Connell wasn't much better. His first 2 drives ended with a 3-and-out and an interception. I'm telling you, the autumn win was a Raider. But these Raiders, they don't know how to win. They just don't. They were playing the Denver Broncos. Now, the Broncos gave Patrick Surtain a $96 million extension. Big C wants a $96 million extension before the start of the season, and he showed why they were playing him with all the big bucks. Surtain had 2 interceptions, including 100 yards at pick 6 in the fourth quarter, and that started a 31 straight point run for the Denver Broncos. You got to realize Minshew back to pass those downfield. The ball is intercepted by Surtain. He's at the 10, the 20. He's at the 30, cuts it across to the 40. He's at the 50, down to the 40, 35, 30. 25-20, makes another move at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Broncos! 13, 100 yards, 100 yards, pick 6. This is not your great granddaddy's Denver Broncos. What a great game. Bo Nix had another efficient game. He's not wowing anybody over, but he did throw for 206 yards and had 3 touchdowns. Denver Broncos, this is not your John Elway's Broncos, but they're actually playing good football. Green Bay Packers, what a game, 24-19 over the LA Rams at beautiful SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The addition of Xavier McKinney is suddenly looking like the best defensive free agent signing of the year. McKinney forced 2 turnovers against the Rams, which came in the second half. The Packers were able to get 14 points off of those turnovers to put the game out of reach. McKinney was one of the few bright spots for a defense that did struggle to slow down the Rams. Offensively, Jordan Love threw an early pick six, but he made up for it by throwing 66 yards to Tucker Kraft in the third quarter. And the Packers were not perfect, but you don't have to be perfect to win. You just got to win. The Rams had a game in the palm of their hands until halftime. Green Bay, their fans travel well. It was a great game for Green Bay, come across the country and win at SoFi Stadium. The Rams couldn't get a big play when they needed one, and now at 1-4, their season's on the brink of a disaster. They were just a Super Bowl champion a few years ago. But as we go up north on Dimdale Hills Interstate 5, how about those Cardinals? The Arizona Cardinals 24. The San Francisco 49ers 23. Shanahan, are you out of your mind? You got to run the ball better in Dimdale Hills, California. The Cardinals, they pulled off a stunning win thanks to a rushing attack that got inside the 49ers' head. A defense that's not as good as they were last year. They came up with some big plays. James Conner had 86 yards, got his chest in the win. The great Kyler Murray, 83 yards combined for 6.5 yards per carry. It was Cardinals up to the line of scrimmage, 50-yard line, 1st and 10. Murray with the snap. Murray going to pull it down. He rolling to his right. Murray has seen. He has a seam at the 40, at the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Cardinals! That's the same Cardinal they were trying to barbecue outside of Levi Stadium. But that bird got up and he found his wings. He found his wings and led the Cardinals. They were down 23-10. And they came back and won. The Niners did not score in the second half. The 49ers leading 23-10 at halftime. This game looked like it was going away. They put them away, but they let them off the hook. And San Francisco had a second half meltdown again. The offense fumbled the game away through 3 turnovers, and in the final 2 quarters, including the fumble by Jordan Mason that came inside of Arizona's 10-yard line. Touchdown, Brock Purdy threw 2 interceptions on a day where he struggled with his accuracy. It's not your Joe Montana 49ers. And the 49ers red zone offense was a disaster, with San Francisco scoring just 1 touchdown on 6 trips inside of Arizona's 20. That's not a good. Shanahan, I'm telling you, since he was hired in 2017, the 49ers have lost 6 games where they led by double digits in the fourth quarter, which is tied for the most in the NFL in that span. They lost by double digits. They were leading the Rams by double digits in L.A., and then coming back home, have a double-digit lead over the Cardinals, and they let it get away. They let them off the hook. Well, that's my story. I'm taking with it. What a win by the Arizona Cardinals. They were in over their head, but they flew the coop, and they got to win. New York Giants 29, the Seattle Seahawks 20. They are now sleepless in Seattle, a beautiful field at Legion Field up in Lumen Stadium in beautiful Seattle, Washington, Puget Sound. The Giants might have found their star, and Tyrone Tracy, the rookie 5th-round pick, ran for 129 yards, and his performance helped propel the Giants' offense. With the Seahawks worried about Tracy, that opening things up for Daniel Jones, who had an impressive game, throwing for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dexter Lawrence was the defensive hero for the Giants as he racked up 3 of their 7 sacks. 7 sacks is a lot. The win wasn't sealed until the Giants blocked the Seahawks field goal attempt in the final minute. What a game by the New York City Giants. All's fair at level where Seattle's high-powered offense was shut down, and that happened because Geno Smith spent most of the game running for his life. They were not protecting his assets. He was running for his life, and you can't run for your life and win a game in the NFL. All's fair at level war. I got to tell you, good job by the New York Giants. They were in over the head, but they got the win. Houston, we have liftoff. The Houston Texans 23, the Buffalo Bills 20. It was a touchdown. Josh Allen, his struggles. It's almost impossible for the Bills to win if Allen has one of the worst games of his career. The Bills quarterback completed just 9 passes for 30 attempts, 30%, which was the fewest completions by a quarterback with at least 30 passes since 1992. The Bills defense came up with multiple big plays, including an interception, that strip sack of C.J. Stroud that both came in the fourth quarter, but the offense could not take advantage of it. Sean McDermott made a questionable decision to call for 3 passes in his own end zone with 32 seconds left when he simply could have played for the overtime. But Allen plays better, and the Bills could win, but he didn't play better. It's about what you do, not what you could do. Not many defenses were able to contain Josh Allen, but the Houston Texans, they managed that in this game. A big reason why DeMeco Ryans' head coach is really happy with his team and why Houston was able to win. The Texans had Allen out on the run, which he led to quite a few erratic passes. But the Bills, I'm telling you, they just didn't play well. They totaled just 185 yards, Offensively, the Texans were not perfect, but C.J. Stroud, he turned the ball over twice in the fourth quarter, but he did throw for 331 yards, including a short pass. They got a touchdown on Fairbaum's game-winning 59-yard field goal. You gotta give Houston a lot of credit. They beat a good Buffalo Bills team, and that says a lot for the good old boys down in Texas. Chicago Bears 36, Carolina 10s. The Bears are who we thought they were. You want to crown them, crown them. The late great Dennis Green said the Bears are who we thought they were. Now the Panthers, their offense got a big spark after Andy Dalton was given the starting job, but it seems like that spark has now been exhausted. The Panthers actually had an impressive opening drive that ended with Chuba Hubbard's touchdown, but the wheels fell off the wagon after that. It also did not help that the Panthers defense was carved up by Caleb Williams out of USC, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. He threw for 304 yards. At this point, it feels like it doesn't matter who plays at quarterback for Carolina. They were all convinced that Dalton's going to be their guy going forward, but I'm not so sure. They're just a bad team in Carolina. The Bears are who we thought they were. You want to crown them, crown them. Don't crown them just yet. The late, great Dennis Green. The game was about as well as possible for the Bears. Caleb Williams had a breakout day, and the defense looked dominant. Not the Bears' 85 defense. No, not so fast, my friend. But the first half of this season, the Bears are looking like they're going to be a good team competing in the division. Williams looked to be in total command of the Bears' offense on a day where he completed 70% of his passes. 70! But 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both went to DJ Moore, and Williams had a strong connection with Moore, who caught 5 passes for 105 yards and got his chest in the win. I want to crown the Bears. I want to crown the Bears. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. The Miami Dolphins 15 over the New England Patriots 10. This is not your Tom Brady New England Patriots. It's not your Dan Marino's Miami Dolphins or the Bob Greasy's Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins made a lot of big plays, but they also made a lot of big mistakes in this game. But since they were playing the Patriots, it really didn't matter. On special teams alone, they had a missed field goal, a botched field goal attempt, and after a bad snap, they gave up a blocked punt. But the defense, the no-name defense, they played so well that Miami was able to overcome that in the second start. Tyler Huntley struggled, but some did say that 80-yard scoring drive gave them a lot of confidence, and that's what they needed, especially playing against New England. That's just not playing good football right now. What do you say about New England? With the roster they have, the Patriots are not going to win unless they play a nearly perfect game, and they did not come close to playing a perfect game. They just got to find a way to get better. I say stick with Jacoby Brissett and challenge that defense to get better. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about the Washington Commanders 34? Cleveland, this is not for you. Cleveland 13. In Cleveland, it might be time for the Browns to blow everything up and start all over again. This team seems to hit a very, very low in the week going up to this game. And in the Washington, it hit rock bottom. Deshaun Watson had another bad performance. That included a lost fumble and an interception. At some point, the Browns have to think about giving someone else a chance. And Cleveland's offense couldn't move the ball against the Commanders' defense. They had surrendered the 7th most yards in the NFL through 5 weeks. The Browns, this is not your Jim Brown's Cleveland Browns. The Browns' defense has been one of the bright spots for Cleveland through the first few weeks, but it got dominated by a Commanders' offense that piled up 434 yards. It was a nightmare performance by Cleveland All's fair and level were the Washington Commanders. The Commanders were so good. They were so good. Like a good bowl of collard greens tastes so good. This game, they were so good, they were able to bench Heisman Trophy winner Jalen Daniels for the entire fourth quarter before he left. They beat the Browns defense on a day where he totaled 320 yards, 238 of those coming through the air, and then Daniels thoroughly outplayed Deshaun Watson, who was one that looked like a rookie quarterback. As good as it gets, Daniels and this Washington team, they're going to get better. And that's scary for the NFC East. They may even win it because they're as good as Dallas and they're as good as Philadelphia, and they're better than the Giants. I'm starting to like what they're doing in Washington. What a story that would be in the nation's capital. Jacksonville 37, Indianapolis Colts 34. Say it ain't so. In a real fight, a Jacksonville Jaguar would maul a Colt. And this was a real fight because they got their first win. When you look at Indianapolis, the Colts were down to their backup quarterback, and they almost still won the game. Joe Flacco diced up the Jaguars secondary for 359 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Colts had 6 different receivers catch at least 3 passes. You got to realize this team, Pierce had 134 yards and a touchdown. The problem with the Colts, though, is that their defense could not stop the big play. And the Jaguars had 3 plays in the game that went for 60 yards or more. When you can do that, you're going to win some games. The 0-4 Jaguars, they were desperate for a win, and they played like a desperate team. Doug Peterson put his game in the hands of quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and he responded by throwing for a career-high 371 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Lawrence came up big time in the fourth quarter where he went 10 for 12, 117 yards. You got to realize they're still a young team. They're in disarray. But that win was a big-time win for the Jaguars. Minnesota 23, the New York Jets 17 in London. This is not your Joe Namath New York Jets, and this is not your Fran Tarkenton's Minnesota Vikings. At the start of the 2024 season, touchdown Aaron Rodgers out of Northern California and Butte College in Cal Berkeley, at the same time was the oldest player in the NFL. And he's playing like the oldest player in the NFL was not a good thing for New York. The Jets offense not in sync. They continue to look like they're out of sync. And a big reason for that is because Rodgers is struggling with his accuracy. I remember interviewing Aaron Rodgers after they had beaten the 49ers 2 years ago at Levi Stadium. And I said, Aaron, what makes it so accurate? He said muscle memory. Muscle memory. Well, he forgot how the muscle memory works. He's struggling right now. He's completing 54% of his passes while also trying a career high with 3 interceptions. That's not like touchdown Aaron Rodgers, including a pick six in the first half that really cost them the game. The Jets defense forced 2 turnovers while holding Minnesota to 1 offensive touchdown, but that wasn't enough because Rodgers and the offense, they were playing so poorly. Garrett Wilson caught 13 passes, but it took 22 targets to get him there. I'm telling you, they're talking about trading for Davante Adams. I don't know, Davante. You don't want to chase around Aaron Rodgers. His accuracy is not what it was when he was in Green Bay. The Minnesota Vikings, they've been piling up points this season. But even when their offense doesn't show up, they prove that they can still win games. Minnesota improved to 5-0 thanks to a defense that beat up on touchdown Aaron Rodgers. But not only that, the Vikings sacked him 3 times. And the defense came away very proud of the way they played that game against Aaron Rodgers and the good old boys from the Jets. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. We know on Thursday night, Atlanta 36 over Tampa Bay, 30 in overtime. Down in Georgia, beautiful Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the Buccaneers looked to have this game in hand until they absolutely fell apart in the fourth quarter, and the Buccaneers had a chance to put the game away, and they didn't. What they say, they let them off the hook. They had a chance to put the game away, but they let them off the hook. In just under 3 minutes, it was Bucky Irvin lost that fumble at Atlanta's 25-yard line. They got another chance to put the game away after Levante David interception at Atlanta's 28-yard line with under 2 minutes left, but they blew that opportunity. It was the kind of day for the Buccaneers that the Pirate had a bad day at the offense. Think about the biggest concern for Todd Bowles is that his defense got knocked around for 510 yards. Kirk Cousins did his thing, and then Atlanta's receivers were running open all game long. You can see Tampa could not do anything to stop it. It was the 5th highest yardage total, 550 yards that the Buccaneers have given up in franchise history. You got to realize that's not good. That's not good. But Atlanta Falcons, they got new life. It took 5 weeks, but Kirk Cousins appears to not be completely comfortable with that Falcons running game and their passing game. You want to pass it, pass it. The great Don Coryell for the Chargers back in the day, and he was passing to Kirk Cousins, had the biggest game of his career. He threw for a franchise record 509 yards. The Falcons quarterback was perfect in overtime, going 3 for 3 for 69 yards, including the game-winning touchdown to Cordero Hodge, and then Cousins' ability to spread the ball around and keep the Buccaneers defense guessing. What a come-out, breakout game by Cousins. Really proud of him. He was injured last year. You like that? You like that? He said, you like that, you like that. And that was a big win for the good old boys down in Atlanta. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. This time of year, football is so amazing. It's so super fantastic. You don't want to miss any of it. I love what's going on in the NFL. I'm so appreciate the way the games are being played. A lot of games go down to the wire. And just when you think your team's going to win, they foil the story. What did Tom Brady say? He said they couldn't have scripted it any better. They couldn't have scripted it any better. You don't want to say that too much, Tom Brady. They couldn't have scripted what any better. I got to tell you, I love football. Tonight's game should be super fantastic with the defending Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the good old boys that we know are good enough to beat them, New Orleans Saints. I don't think they will because the Chiefs find a way to keep winning. Now, they're undefeated. They're not going to win every game. If there's a team that can get them, it would be New Orleans. But there's something about Kansas City. They don't like to cover the spread, but they do like to win games, and I think they'll win the game tonight in Kansas City. What a great game it should be, especially for Monday night. Rumor has it Taylor Swift will also be at the game, so a lot of the teeny boppers, they will like to tune in to see if their Taylor Swift is going to be there in the press box or the luxury boxes, whatever it is. I'm sure she'll have a good time there. I want to tell you, as we close out today on Big C Sports Podcast, I'll talk some college football tomorrow. I got runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball. Swung here deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Hooray! Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. Got some Major League Baseball tonight on Monday. The Kansas City Royals, they are at the New York Yankees. That game's already underway on TBS. And Detroit is at Cleveland. This is for you. Detroit is at Cleveland. The Guardians, what a game that should be in Major League Baseball. Now, I know people have their own thoughts about who's going to win a game. I also like what's happening with Philadelphia, and they're at the New York Mets. They'll play those series tomorrow. And at the same time, if you love sport, the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, I'm still looking. It's just my opinion. I would love to see LA Dodgers and New York Yankees World Series. It would be so wonderful to see that. But it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I know we all have our own dreams of what a game is. But to see the Padres knock out the Dodgers 10-2, it's just a game. And it's going to happen whether you win 3-2 or 10-2. A win is a win and a loss is a loss. But I love the fact that this crowd is so into it. The series now tied at 1 apiece. The Dodgers and the Padres, the game moves now to San Diego Padres. And Buehler's on the mound with a 5.38 ERA. That good boy can do his thing. He's going to have to. And then King's on the mound for San Diego with a 2.95 ERA. You know, baseball's great when you have guys that can swing the bat and also pitchers that can strike them out. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Keep an eye on Walker Buehler. He takes the hill, and that's going to be on Tuesday as the Dodgers seek to regain the series lead. We got to figure that out. When I think about 7 Dodgers up for the all-Major League Baseball team, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, Jack Flaherty, Alex Visa, and then you got to realize in L.A., even though L.A. is a Laker town, Dodger Blue is all hyped about this series. Dodger Blue better take those Padres serious because they don't want to go down to the charge to San Diego and be down 2-1. They got to win Game 3 going into San Diego because the pressure will be on the Dodgers, and they play great with pressure all year long. Walker Buehler, this good boy, can pitch in big games. They've done it before, but I have the Dodgers as the best team in Major League Baseball. But they got to get past their little brothers down south, Interstate 5 call the San Diego Padres. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I love high school football. Had some great games over the weekend. Friday Night Lights, number 1 Mater Dei. They kept the number 1 ranking with a 40-18 win of Santa Margarita and the Trinity League. They keep showing up. And then you had number 2 St. John Bosco at Bellflower. They got past Orange Lutheran in the Southern California Classic. So great games all around the state of California. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I will cut it in on Big C's college football tomorrow because there's so much excitement in the air for NFL football. I'm so happy that we have some great games at this time of the year, but you got to get those 49ers right in Denver Hills, California. Not used to seeing them down the way they're down right now. They got to get back touchdown maker Christian McCaffrey. He has to get healthy. Now, also, NBA basketball is about to tip off right around the corner. The season starts on October 22nd. Preseason's already underway. The Warriors got a big win over the Clippers. Steph Curry and those good old boys, they have a chance, of course, to run to the playoffs this year. And then up in Sacramento, you have De'Aaron Fox going to do his thing to lead, and Domas Sabonis is going to lead the Sacramento Kings, the Light the Beam team, back to the playoffs for Coach Mike Brown. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easier things not to do. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. You can call Uber. You can call Liv. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start drinking after they've been driving. The life you save may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. Before I finish out on Big C Sports Podcast, I'm so strong about reparations. I want you to hear the number one speaker in the history of this country to talk about reparations and why you should too.
Because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that crap on their own. If you're doing that, you need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. If someone loves you, they don't hit you. Only hit you because you made me mad. Call 911. If someone loves you, they don't beat you. Only beat you because you made me mad. Call 911. If someone's choking you out, only choke you out because you made me mad. Call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that crap on their own. If somebody loves you, they don't hit you, they don't beat you, they don't choke you out. Call the police. Things change when the police show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, I love paying homage on my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents, Mama and Pop, they were beautiful, loving, kind people, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Like young boys coming out of that backyard playing, like a lot of times kids do. I remember always running right to the refrigerator. Right to the refrigerator like a lot of boys do. Without washing their hands. She say, you guys hungry? I said, yeah, I'm hungry right now. She said, go wash your hands, you can eat. I don't want to wash my hands. I'm hungry now. She said, baby, just wash your hands and you can get something to eat. Wait, Grandma, I'm too hungry to wash my hands. She said, you wash your hands in this house. And then we wash our hands, and she let her get some ribs and some garlic greens. Love my grandmother, all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful grandfather, great-grandfather Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. Ever say, boys, get out of that barn now. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful grandparents, Hezekiah and Muddia, they were beautiful, kind people. They were seers. They could off the top look at a person and tell you a lot about their past. their present, and their future. They still help me to this day. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team with the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. Mama, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You know, I always say, Mama, I give you praise, God. I praise God. I keep praising and praising and praying. I deserve it. You know what I'm talking about, Mama? I deserve it now. That Instacart moment, I deserve it now. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then on my father's side, my grandparents, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They also owned 2 gas stations and 40 acres of land. I remember, just like a young boy growing up, every time I wanted something, I had to go get it. I was 8 years old walking through the hallway. About 10 o'clock at night, I remember saying to my grandmother, I was walking through the hallway, I felt someone touch me in my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies?" I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing. I'm going to get my reparations." In fact, what are you doing up at 10 o'clock at night? You know me go to bed at 8:30. She said, "You want some more cookies?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take a couple of cookies." She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And now Big C Sports Podcast is on 29 podcast applications and streaming on 4 TV platforms. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My great-grandfather, he can fix anything with his hands. Always saying, use your mind. Son, use your mind. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. In fact, my father's the first one to tell me about the SR-71 Blackbird. It can fly from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 8 minutes. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always saying go forward. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader. Always talking sports and politics. He would say always go forward. Don't look back because you don't have much backside. I said I love my backside, Todd. But he said I needed to do more squats so I could get a bigger backside. And you know, that stuff works. I've been doing more squats and now my backside is getting bigger without any injections. You know, we love Malcolm X. But I also love the movie Pulp Fiction with Sam Jackson, John Travolta, Vin Rames, and Bruce Willis. Before the big fight, Vin Rames said, "Bruce, come sit your butt down and take this money." He said, "Your butt goes down in the 5th round." "Sit up, man!" He said, "Okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round." He said, "That stinking sensation you're feeling? Well, that's just pride. Flubbing with you." And he said what a lot of NFL players say to each other. He said, "Blood pride." He said, "Pride only hurts. It never helps." He said boxing is filled with a lot of unrealistic, muddly bluckers who think their butt gets better with time like fine wine, but it don't. In terms of vinegar, then it do. Someday you're going to thank Uncle Marsalis when you're chilling on the Caribbean. You're going to say Uncle Marsalis is right. You know he didn't take the dive and he lost his LA privileges. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. A college graduate with 2 degrees of honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Daisy set up the very first interview for a Big C Sports Podcast back in the day at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They would normally go to ESPN, but because of 2 black men in the crew, we were doing our thing. They called us the Dream Team, but shenanigans set in and the show went away, but I'm still standing. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Daisy scored 6 goals in a soccer game. Now, one, she's right-footed kicker, but she did it left kick. Daisy with the ball, Daisy with the kick, Daisy with the goal, 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 goal. And the team won the game. Daisy, I love you with all my body and soul. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always trust God. People change, God doesn't change. I will always, always, always love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God. You can be anything you want to be. In fact, Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to get newspapers and look up stats for a Big C Sports Podcast on players and teams. And one day, Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. One time Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, you can find it on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Always be a good man. Always do the best you can, and always trust God. Always trust God. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-grandparents coming out of that barn with the church buddies always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. SB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-bit teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. All I have was this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients called it the third eye. They said that's how you talk to God. That's why I scream so loud, because I want God to hear it. God, you hear my praise. I give you praise, praise, praise. You hear my praise, God. I deserve it now. Do it now, God. I want to say this because I love God with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. It's called the Issachar moment. The sons of Issachar had an uncanny, unconventional ability to discern what God was doing. I've been called this the Issachar anointing. God, I deserve the Issachar anointing. You know my dreams. I'm watching Big C Sports merchandise. I deserve it, God. Big C Sports TV. I deserve it, God. And I'm doing 8 years of Big C Sports podcast. You got to give that some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Well, that's my doing. I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, I love honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President Abraham Lincoln. But I'm going to first go to Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, there was a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to shout, reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. There was no fighter greater than Muhammad Ali. Now we have 32 days from the election. I'm asking the President of the United States to do what Lincoln and King said. What they say, Big C? They said reparations now, reparations forever. Say it loud. Reparations now, reparations forever. Say it again. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.
Sports for a unique point of view on NCAA, pro sports teams, and big-time players. Tune in now to Big C Sports Podcast. You get real sports talk worldwide. Even if you miss a live episode, you can replay it on demand. Google Big C Sports. Longtime award-winning radio broadcaster covering all sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Google the Big C Sports Podcast live or on demand today. Do it now.